Hello, you're live at the BBC Sports Centre with me, Chris Mitchell. Coming up for you on Sport Today, Osaka is the new US Open champion, but the celebrations are muted after these scenes on court.
You owe me an apology. I have never cheated in my life. I have a daughter and I stand what's right for her, and I've never cheated. And you owe me an apology.
Elsewhere, the world champions prepare to start their Nations League campaign. It's France versus the Netherlands. And not even the sand and the long grass can stop Rose blooming at the BMW Championship. Naomi Osaka is the US Open champion. The young Japanese player outclassed Serena Williams to win in straight sets. A new star for tennis to enjoy. But it can't yet, and it won't for some time. As you no doubt already know, the final was overshadowed by unprecedented scenes on court. Williams' argument with the umpire and everything that followed is how this final will probably be remembered. Patrick Geary reports.
You owe me an apology. I have never cheated in my life. I have a daughter and I stand what's right for her, and I've never cheated.
This wasn't the story tennis wanted or expected. Serena Williams, furious at being warned for receiving coaching, then penalised a game for verbal abuse of the umpire. All this in a match she'd hoped would take her to Grand Slam 24. It cruelly overshadowed a sensational victory for 20-year-old Naomi Osaka, playing in a final she'd only dreamed of and outclassing a player she'd idolised as a girl. Serena Williams' journey back from childbirth and life-threatening blood clots just a year ago is remarkable in itself. But when this was interpreted as coaching, her fury grew through the second set.
You are the liar.
Code violation, verbal abuse.
The escalating row brought in the referees, then cost Williams a game, leaving Osaka an awkward bystander in all of this, serving for the title.
Second match, Osaka, 6-2, 6-4.
An amazing victory and first Grand Slam, forever soundtracked by surround sound anger. Her proudest day tinged with no little sadness. Patrick Geary, BBC News.
So an incredible evening, so many things going on. Let's start with Serena. What actually happened? Well, Williams' coach made a hand gesture toward her early in the second set, and the rules say you cannot do that. Now, Williams denied she received any coaching, but her coach later admitted he had been trying to coach her. 3 games later, Osaka was awarded a point when Williams was given another code violation, this time for smashing her racket. She then received a game penalty for calling the umpire Carlos Ramos a liar and a thief. Now, Williams clearly believes the rules are not being applied consistently or fairly, especially in her case. This was her after the match.
I can't sit here and say I wouldn't say he's a thief because I thought he took a game from me, but I've seen other men call other umpires several things, and I'm here fighting for women's rights and for women's equality and for all kinds of stuff. And for me to say thief and for him to take a game, it made me feel like it was a sexist remark. I mean, like, how he's never took a game from a man because they said thief. For me, it blows my mind. But I'm going to continue to fight for women and to fight for us to have equal. Like, Courtney should be able to take her shirt off without getting a fine. Like, this is outrageous, you know? And I just feel like the fact that I have to go through this is just an example for the next person that has emotions and that want to express themselves and they want to be a strong woman, and they're going to be allowed to do that because of today. Maybe it didn't work out for me, but it's going to work out for the next person.
Well, what do you think? The scenes in New York have clearly divided opinion. There are those of you who believe that Serena has been wronged, that the umpire unfairly singled her out. There are others of you who believe her conduct on court was abhorrent. How about this from Victoria Azarenka, former world #1? If it was a men's match, this wouldn't happen like this. It just wouldn't. Or this from Billie Jean King, set up the WTA, 4-time winner at the US Open. She says, thank you, Serena Williams, for calling out this double double standards, saying the rules aren't applied fairly across the board when it comes to the men and women's game. How about this from Andrew Castle, though? Slightly different from him, former tennis pro, now turned tennis commentator. Memories of the Clijsters match here, he says. We'll look at that in a moment. You just can't act like that, I'm afraid, he says. Serena now claiming that men do this. More nonsense. Is she claiming sexism? This is not right. So you know what he feels about this. And finally, this is really interesting because this is Serena's coach. The star of the show has once again been the chair umpire, he goes on. When do we decide that this should never happen again? Well, this isn't the first time that Serena has been in trouble at the US Open or been at the centre of controversy in New York. Let's take a look at some of the times when she has. This in 2004. In the quarter-final, she lost to Jennifer Capriati. She remonstrated with the umpire then about a crucial line call. Williams was right about that bad call, but her arguing made the headlines. How about this? In 2009, Kim Clijsters was playing her. Williams called for a foot fault. Again, she took issue with the official. She was penalised. The match went to Clijsters. She missed out on a place in the final. And finally, for you, in 2011, how about this one? When she actually lost in the final to Sam Stosur and was again penalised for arguing with the officials. So these things have happened before, but perhaps not in this age when there's so much social media around. And we can't forget, and we mustn't forget this person. She is the champion, Naomi Osaka. She's been widely praised for the way she kept her composure on court and, more importantly, the way she played. Afterwards, though, it was clear to see that the manner of her victory had had a profound effect.
When I step onto the court, I feel like a different person, right? I'm not a Serena fan. I'm just a tennis player playing another tennis player. But then when I hugged her at the net, sorry. Anyways, when I hugged her at the net, I felt like a little kid again, so sorry.
Osaka then the champion, but clearly affected by everything that had gone on court. It was an amazing final, perhaps for the wrong reasons, but there are some amazing stats surrounding it as well. How about this? First Japanese player to win a Grand Slam. Osaka was one when Serena won her first major. 24 is the record for Grand Slams, a critical number. Margaret Court got that many Grand Slam victories. Serena Williams last night was hoping to equal it. She didn't, of course. And finally, 2012 was the last time that Serena Williams failed to win a major. 2018, she's done it again, failed to win any of the Grand Slams. So where does this leave us? Can somebody grasp what has actually happened with some sense? Annabelle Croft, a former British #1, does a pretty good job.
I guess what it says is that the umpire, Carlos Ramos, was not accepting anything other than correct behaviour on a tennis court. And it didn't matter that it was Serena Williams, one of the greatest, arguably the greatest potentially that's ever played the game. He wasn't having any of it. It was, I believe, it could have been discretionary. What happened, but he wasn't having any of it. So, he gave her that game penalty and it completely disintegrated and her composure evaporated and the whole thing was an utter disaster out on court. But I have to say, to take nothing away from Naomi Osaka, because who knows, I think she would have probably gone on to win the match anyway because her tennis was sensational. Her composure for a young 20-year-old was remarkable. She outplayed Serena right from the word go, and she also kept her composure with all the drama that was unfolding down the other end of the court, and that was extraordinary. And it was just sad to see her sobbing up on the podium, because when she stood there and the whole crowd were rounding on the whole ceremony, it was sad to see someone who just achieved their first Grand Slam title at the US Open sobbing rather than holding up a trophy and being absolutely, joyful and so happy to have achieved something so great.
What a night it was. Let us know what you